Our notes for tonight are from chapter 9 of the textbook, which talks about the media and public opinion. So we're going to be taking a look at a little bit of how public opinion is formed and shaped and different techniques that candidates and campaigns will try to use to shape your opinions. So let's start off with what are the different forces that influence and shape what we believe about politics and the role of the government. Probably the most obvious force that shapes our opinion is our family. From an early age, we're sort of reflections of the beliefs and the values that our parents instill in us. So it makes sense that family would be an important influence on our opinions. School is another. Particularly at your age, your friends and those that you're at school with every day are also going to shape what you believe. Religion can be one. It's not for everybody, but certainly it's an important factor that shapes a lot of people's beliefs about what's right and what's wrong. Friends, as you guys are, I'm sure, all aware, the people you hang out with. Gender and ethnicity, meaning male or female, and your ethnic background. African American, Caucasian, Latino, or any other ethnicity. Your experience based on those factors can shape what you believe about certain issues. And an important one is the news media. So the things we read online on news sites, the things that we see through news broadcasts on television, the advertisements that we see, those types of things can shape our beliefs as well. As we get older and more mature, we tend to be influenced by a wider range of forces. So as you're young, you typically aren't shaped by all of those. In fact, you might only be shaped by one or two of them. But as you get older, you get exposed to more people, more ideas. You tend to be influenced by more and more of them. So what I want you guys to do in your notes is to sort of fill in the rest of this question, or this statement rather. The force that has the most influence over my political beliefs right now is blank. So pick one of those that we just talked about. Which one do you feel has the most influence right now over your political beliefs? And fill in the rest of that statement. Because ... right? Why does that particular force have the most influence over your beliefs right now? Next, we're going to take a look at 7 different persuasive techniques that politicians and interest groups and campaigns, political parties, will use in their advertisements. The first one is called name calling. And just like it sounds, these are personal attacks on an opponent, calling them something that is usually not particularly flattering. So here is an example. This is an example that's shared in your book as well. This is a campaign advertisement for Lyndon Johnson. And if you'll notice at the bottom, it says defeat Goldwater and his right-wing extremists. So in this sense, they're using name-calling to make people believe Goldwater is an extremist. The next persuasive technique is transfer. And this is the idea of taking a well-known symbol or image and connecting a candidate to it. So here's a good example. This is a campaign poster for Walter Mondale and Geraldine Ferraro, where the woman is Geraldine Ferraro, who was running for vice president. And she is being connected to the symbol of liberty, leading the people. She's being connected to the symbol of the American flag and everything that that stands for. The third one is bandwagon. And you guys have probably heard the phrase jumping on the bandwagon. Bandwagon is the technique of trying to convince the person viewing the ad that everybody else is for your candidate, so you should be too. You should jump on the bandwagon. So here's a good example. Together with McGovern, right? And if you look at the different faces, it's a wide range of the American public. Young and old, men and women, black and white, different jobs. You see even a child up there. It looks like there's a soldier, there's a cowboy, there's a guy with a hard hat on, a construction worker. The idea is, look, all these people are in favor of McGovern, and you should join the bandwagon. Similar to that one is testimonial. And this is specifically talking about getting endorsements from celebrities. So here's a good example from the Al Smith campaign, Champions of Al Smith, right? These are famous athletes of the time period, Babe Ruth and Knute Rockne. And all of these folks are in favor of Al Smith, and you should be as well. Plain folks is used quite often. The idea of convincing the viewer that the candidate is just a regular person who understands the common people. You see that a lot in advertisements today where, a candidate is just out doing regular things that everybody else does, grocery shopping and, having a beer at a bar and just sort of regular everyday common occurrences. Here's an example of an advertisement using plain folks. This goes back to the 1800s with Ulysses Grant and Henry Wilson. Grant on the left is dressed as a tanner and Wilson as a shoemaker. Just saying, hey, these are guys who have had regular, hardworking jobs. They know what it's like to just be a regular, hardworking citizen. Card stacking is used a lot. That's the technique of presenting a whole lot of evidence that only shows one side of an argument. Politicians use this a lot. So here's a good example. An advertisement that had played on the Monopoly get out of jail free card. And the backstory behind this was that Michael Dukakis, who was running for president as a Democrat, had effectively allowed some folks when he was a governor to get out of prison. And some of the folks that were let out of prison ended up going back and committing crimes. And so this was an advertisement showing, if you vote for Michael Dukakis, he's going to let criminals out of jail. And so that only shows one side of the argument, right? It doesn't really take into account the other side. The last one, and one that's used often as well, is glittering generalities. And this is probably my personal favorite. Glittering generalities are just the catchy slogans or the phrases that sound nice, but they don't really tell you anything about the candidate or what the candidate stands for. So here's a historical example from the Eisenhower campaign. Let's clean house with Ike and Dick. Well, okay, so we got Eisenhower, and we have Richard Nixon, but it doesn't tell us anything. We don't know what these men stand for. We don't know what their beliefs are. It just says that we should clean house. Well, it doesn't really mean much. More recent examples, you had Barack Obama's hope and change we can believe in. You had Mitt Romney's believe in America. They're nice, sort of catchy slogans, and they don't really tell you anything.